Robots, software, machine learning, AI, all of these are some of the most in-demand engineering skills today. So there are a few routes that you could take to pick up on some of these engineering skills, but in my opinion, the best route that you can possibly take to get these skills is mechatronics engineering. In this video, I'm going to break down each and every skill you need to become a successful robotics, mechatronics / automation engineer. When deciding which skills are the most important, there's a few ways that you could go about it. So you could type into Google something like most in-demand mechatronics engineering skills, and it'll give you some pretty good results. But if you're really interested in working as a mechatronics engineer, the absolute best way to figure out what skills you need for the job are to look at mechatronics engineering job postings. Job postings can tell you a lot about the particular industry or job that you're interested in and what current skills are the most relevant to getting you a job today. So what I did to find the most relevant mechatronics robotics engineering skills was scoured lots of mechatronics engineering job postings in the United States and Canada, and I found the skills that appeared the most often amongst all of these jobs. So I mainly focused on jobs that had mechatronics / robotics / automation in the title, because these are the kinds of jobs that I think people are the most interested in, especially working with robots. So after scouring hundreds of jobs, the skills that I found showed up the most often are basic to advanced level of PLC, proficiency in computer-aided design, understanding engineering drawings and technical documentation, control systems, embedded systems, CNC machining, 3D printers, Python, C, and C++. So let's look at these skills one by one. We're going to define them, explain how they're used, and see how you can go out and get these skills on your own. So first up, we have PLC programming. PLC stands for Programmable Logic Controller, and this is used in industrial automation and is often referred to as a ruggedized computer for the purpose of industrial automation. These PLCs can basically program entire assembly lines. There are a few common programming languages within PLC that you can learn, such as ladder diagrams, sequential function charts, functional block diagram, and instruction list. One of these might be better than the other depending on the particular application or automation that you're trying to achieve. I'll post a video explaining all of these in the description, so go check it out if you're interested in learning more about PLC controllers. Most employers don't make any mention of any specific certification that you need for PLC programming. They're just looking that you have some experience with it, so as long as you can demonstrate that you do have some kind of experience with PLC programming, you should be okay. Second, we have proficiency in computer-aided design, and in this situation, this usually refers to 3D solid modeling in a software such as SolidWorks or Autodesk Inventor. You can learn to model parts or even entire assemblies, and there are tons of tutorials online that can teach you how to use these softwares. You can usually get it if you're in an educational institution. You'll get one of these for free. Now, when you see a requirement for AutoCAD or 3D solid modeling, the bare minimum that you should be able to do is look at something in real life and then take it, put it into a 3D solid modeling software and essentially replicate it. Additionally, you should also be able to look at an assembly of components, see how they fit together, model all of those components separately, and then put them together in the solid modeling software. Other useful computer-aided design skills are doing stress analysis of parts and materials and the types of stresses that those materials can take on. Next up, we have control system skills. You'll often see something like PID controller in a job posting, and all this is just the most common type of control system. PID stands for a proportional integral derivative controller, and essentially what this does is it just adjusts different parameters of the system, such as percent overshoot, settling time, and steady state error, in order to get a response that you're happy with from an input to a system. Being able to control a system is very important in situations like semiconductor manufacturing, where you have a robotic arm that needs to be extremely accurate, and if there's any overshoot, you risk damaging the chip that you're working on. And then there's other applications such as cruise control in your car system, where it's not quite as important that you're completely accurate with the speed, but it should be within a certain range. There are tons of different ways to learn about control systems, but currently for me, I'm taking a course where we're using MATLAB and Simulink to learn about control systems. There are tons of great basics on YouTube about control systems, so definitely go look up some videos if you want to learn about control systems. But some of the things that you should try to understand are transfer functions, different types of real systems, forces, signals in systems, And all of those things, they fall under the umbrella of control systems. And the fourth skill you need for robotics and automation roles is CNC machining. This one showed up a little less often because it's usually more so for manufacturing roles rather than automation or robotics or mechatronics, but it still did show up a few times. CNC stands for Computer Numerical Control Machine, and essentially all it is a manufacturing machine controlled by a computer. A CNC machine can include things like a mill, a drill, a lathe, router, plasma and water jet cutters, and many more. But when you look up CNC on your Instagram feed or on Google or something, you'll probably see some really cool cutouts of super precise metal sheets being sliced in half and placed together. It's really cool stuff, go check it out. And fifth, we have 3D printing. This one's pretty obvious why you might need it to work in automation or robotics, because if you want to rapidly test something and you don't want to manufacture it yet, 3D printing is a great way to see if your design works, if your design fits the way you want it to. Extremely cheap, rapid prototyping. There are tons of 3D printing softwares and printers that you can buy, but most of the time what you end up doing is just designing the part in a CAD software and then plugging it into the 3D printing software, setting all your parameters for strength, accuracy, and durability, and then going crazy with the 3D printer. So being able to do that entire process from start to finish is usually what employers are looking for. And if you don't have access to a 3D printer right now, just do your best, learn some computer-aided design stuff, and when you do get access to it, learning all of the stuff you need to know is not very difficult. They're not super complicated, and there are so many tutorials online that can help you out. And last but not least, we have all of the programming languages that I mentioned, so Python, C, and C++. So C and C++ are very commonly used in embedded devices, and if you're going to be working with robots or in robotics, then you'll probably be using these two programming languages. But more recently, Python has also begun to take off like crazy, and it's growing in popularity extremely quickly, so you'll begin to see more and more applications with Python rather than C or C++ due to the immense popularity. However, Python does have its disadvantages. It's much slower in execution than C or C++, so if you have a real-time system that you need to be extremely accurate and you don't have a lot of room for execution time, then using C or C++ rather than Python is a much better choice. The particular programming language itself doesn't matter so much, it's just what you want to do with your particular application, what makes it the easiest to implement, and what other considerations such as time and cost you have to take into account. I would say that you should learn both Python and C and then build off of C with C++ because they're both extremely valuable programming languages to know. And in my opinion, YouTube is by far the best place to go to learn to code for free. There's also a great website called Free Code Academy, and if you haven't checked it out yet and you want to learn how to code, it's an amazing place, non-for-profit, they don't charge you anything, and you can learn pretty much every coding language that you want to learn. So with all of that being said, there is one more thing to consider. If all you're doing is learning and you're never really applying any of the things you're learning, you probably won't be working for any company in robotics or automation anytime soon. Every time that you learn something new, you have to take that thing, apply it to a real life project, and then put it in a place where people can see it. Demonstrate that you've learned something and now you are capable of applying the thing that you learned. So for a software-based project, your best bet is probably to post it to GitHub, and if you have a hardware-based project or a more DIY project, then you can post it to a place such as LinkedIn or even Instructables and teach other people how to use it. That would really show that you know your stuff because now you're trying to teach others how to use it. Another great option is to create a personal portfolio website where you put up all of your hardware and software projects and you demonstrate beside each project the skills that you used and what you've learned and what you were able to apply while doing those projects. This is by far the best way to demonstrate to an employer that you know what you're doing and that you have the skills you need to get the job. The degree or the school that you went to don't really matter. What matters is that you can perform. Now that you know most of the basic skills that a job would require, let's look at a real example of a job that I found while doing research for this video. So this job in particular is for a robotics engineer in Georgia, United States. It's by a hiring company, so you don't actually know who the company is, but it is nonetheless a robotics engineering job. And if you go down here to the qualifications, you'll see that it requires a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical or Mechatronics Engineering, 5+ years or more experience in engineering focused on robotics integration, robotic controllers, and vision systems. So naturally, when you graduate, you aren't going to have 5 years of experience, But all of the other things below this are very much applicable to most entry-level jobs. For example, you have 3D solid modeling with CAD or SolidWorks. You have previous experience in troubleshooting or repairing electromechanical systems. This is pretty basic. If you worked on any kind of practice system, then you've had experience troubleshooting. You're able to read blueprints, you're able to read manuals, electrical line and schematic drawings. Most of these things you learn in some form of classes in school, and if not, you can go online and try and learn how to read engineering blueprints. And you have to have at least 1 year experience with C++. I think I forgot to add a plus here. And you have to have experience with PLCs and HMIs, which are essentially similar to a programmable logic controller. The last thing here is pneumatics experience, which would be a plus, and a robotic programming language. And essentially what your responsibilities would be is working on the integration of robots to perform warehouse tasks with safeties and efficiencies in mind. So you'd be working on robots that help out around the warehouse. This kind of reminds me of those Amazon robots, if you've seen the Amazon warehouse. And yeah, so you implement your robots, develop code to run the system, layout requirements of cells and testing, very important. You work with the team captain, you develop the return on investment for each project. There are tons of things that you'd be doing within the job, and the thing that can get you this job are all those skills that I talked about throughout the duration of the video. And of course, there are some other skills that aren't quite posted within the job posting, and this would be things like soft skills, your ability to communicate, your ability to make a good presentation, your ability to tell people in regular English what it is you're doing rather than in engineering speak. Because if you're talking to a financial manager and you're trying to tell them, or your boss who isn't maybe an engineer, and you're trying to tell them what it is you're doing, they won't understand binary like you do. So it's very important that you learn how to tell people in a basic way what it is you're trying to accomplish. And these communication skills will apply to almost any job. Even if you're running your own business, it'll become extremely important, because when you're running your own business, it's up to you to get those customers and talk to people in order to bring in income to the business. So communication skills, by far the most important thing for any job. And with that being said, thank you so much for stopping by to watch this video. If you found any of it interesting or useful, be sure to leave me a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me. I love to make these kinds of videos, and I'll be making tons more videos in the future. And if there's one takeaway from this video, it's to make sure that you look at the job postings, see what the qualifications are, and then build your skills based on that. Leave me a comment down below telling me what you thought. I really appreciate you sticking around to the end, and I'll see you next time. Bye!